All right. I got complaints. I lost contact with my oldest child because we disagree on abortion rights. Specifically, on whether or not a woman should have the right to an abortion. My position is no one has the right to tell a woman that she cannot have a medical procedure except that woman and her doctor only providing that he is refusing the surgery because it is medically threatening to perform it for her. The same as applies to any other surgery, elective or necessity. I mean, we're okay with a liposuction. Basically having a woman go and have fat sucked out of her belly, but we're not okay with her having an abortion, which is basically having DNA tissue sucked out of the same area. I don't quite understand how people still feel that they have the right to make this decision for other people. What it all comes down to in my mind is a matter of faith. Those are the people that usually feel the most strongly about abortion being illegal. Most of the people with faith believe that all children are sacred and ordained and, touched by God or some ridiculous shit. Does that apply to Hitler as well? Because he was an infant at one fucking point. You can't go through and be like, all of them are sacred. Well, what about these children that your book talks about, smashing against rocks because they're from another group? Oh, well, those children weren't sacred. But I thought you said a minute ago that all children were sacred. You see what I mean? There's a lot of picking and choosing that goes on in the Bible. That's why you should never use it as an example for your morality. But as far as abortions go, it's not your business to decide whether or not someone can have a medical procedure. How many medical procedures are there in this country that are banned, that you're not allowed to do? That's a question to look up. I mean, I don't have the exact answer in front of me. I can't think of any off the top of my head, except abortions. A doctor can refuse to perform an elective surgery, such as you can't have breast implants before a certain age, and that makes sense because your body's not fully enough developed for you to do that. I mean, the structure isn't ready. It's sort of like if anybody's ever laid concrete. Concrete is at its peak after 100 days. At that point, it's really not any stronger than that. After 100 days to cure. Most doctors think along the same lines, kinda as an analogy with the human body. You're not ready to have breast implants before a certain age. Frankly, the age that I think should be decided for a great many things is 26, because that's about the point biologically where you are a fully matured adult human. Because that's when the cranial sutures have finally closed up. But as far as abortions go, who the fuck gives anybody the right to say that? That's where my child and I lost our ability to communicate, because his wife apparently is a big supporter of that being illegal. That she thinks of it as baby murder. And after a brief inquiry, she's one of the faithful. And that's fine. Your beliefs are your own. Your beliefs cannot be legislated into law. I don't give a fuck how much somebody believes that God is going to punish the wicked for having an abortion. You can't make it the law of the fucking land. That's called Sharia law anywhere else. It's a theocracy. We don't live in a theocracy. We live in a democratic republic with an elected oligarchy. The only reason for abortion to be illegal is purely for reasons of faith, because your faith insists that that infant is sacred. And yes, all life is sacred in one form or another. But you're elevating humans above all other life, first and foremost, because you don't usually think the same thing about abortions for other animals. Otherwise, you wouldn't eat eggs, because an egg is basically a chicken's menstrual cycle. Veal. Veal is calf, force-fed until it's nice and soft. Our species is full of dichotomies. We tend to believe all kinds of crap with no evidence to it. We're very superstitious. But you can't use superstition to dictate daily life. Look, if you don't want to have an abortion, that's your choice. You don't have to have one. But if you don't want to have an abortion, you don't get to demand that your neighbor carry the baby that she got because her uncle raped her, that she has to carry that to full term because your belief structure demands it of her. That's unconscionable. That's horrifying. Why would you subject another human being to that kind of torment? That and as far as you don't want it, give the baby up for adoption. Look, man, I understand that that's an option, but after you've carried a child for 9 months, giving that child up for adoption isn't exactly the simplest answer. Believe me, I've been through this with a bunch of different people where they didn't believe in abortion, but believed that adoption was the way, and there was no way that they'd be able to care for that child. And years later, that still fucks them up. Just as much as if they had had an abortion. Forcing other people to follow the rules of your faith is theocracy. It's what they have in the Middle East. It is not a free society. You cannot demand that you live in a free society and a democracy and then take rights away from other people because they disagree with you. I said it before and I'll say it again. The problem I have with a lot of this is if the hate and the aggression and the violence that people are videotaping and showing every day, if this isn't the American way, why the fuck are there so many Americans being videotaped doing it to so many other Americans? How is this? You can't keep saying it's not the American way. It's exactly what we're doing every fucking day. It doesn't matter if you believe in abortion rights or not. You have to believe in the rights of another human being to be able to decide for themselves. And don't give me that crap about standing up for the rights of the unborn, because you are not. You are standing up for the rights of your faith to dictate policy. That's all you're doing. Because if you cared about that child, once it had been decided that there were no more abortions, you'd fund the adoption clinics. But you're not going to do that. Nope. I will never stand for legalized incubators. That's how I see making abortion illegal. I see it as legalizing, forcing a woman to carry a child to term that she does not want. For whatever reason. You can't say that she doesn't know better than you what her life is going to be like. You don't. You got no way to do that. You can't say that you get to make that choice for her. She chose to get pregnant, she has to keep it. Well, she chose to get pregnant. Okay, that's not always true. In a lot of cases, that's not true. I'd say probably in about at least a third of the pregnancies that I know of occurring, my own anecdotal evidence to be sure, about a third of them I'd say were surprises. That they thought they were taking precautions, and in a lot of cases, you know, what do you call people who use the withdrawal method to prevent pregnancy? Parents. So, to be sure, you shouldn't use abortion as a method of birth control. And nobody's suggesting anyone does. There's almost nobody who uses abortion as a method of birth control. I keep hearing this story that goes around and around about how the current abortion setup is designed to reduce the population of the black community. And no, I'm sorry. Because you can't be a racist and act like they breed like, you know, cockroaches like everybody thinks the fucking poor do. And then at the same time talk about programs that are designed to benefit the poor as... Yeah. I see exactly what they're doing in most cases. They're just trying to make it so that nobody wants to help anybody. Isolation. That's why I don't believe in shit like the Illuminati either. There's no conspiracy. If there was, I mean, have you met humans? You think they're gonna be able to hold that shit together? I understand why my oldest son doesn't talk to me anymore. There was an ongoing discussion about a woman's rights to her own reproduction, and it was on my Facebook page. And his now wife decided to get into a debate on my page with me over abortion rights. And in the course of it, her and a couple of her friends decided to use the favorite terms of the, you know, anti-abortion groups. Baby murderer. Oh, why do you hate children? Why do you want to murder babies? You know, all that stuff. And when I responded back with my own equal feminine responses, they got upset. They didn't understand somebody attacking them on their own level. But that's me. If you're gonna act like a cunt, I've been doing it for decades. Trust me, I'm better practiced. Biologically speaking, there is nothing harmful about having an abortion, providing that it's done properly by a licensed physician. Making abortion illegal isn't going to stop abortion. It will simply stop safe abortions. You've heard that. You know you've heard that. And it's a fact. When people decide to take rights away from other people. And they base that mentality, when they base their right to take away the rights of others on faith. It's a theocracy. The people who wrote our founding documents, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, all the founding documents, the reason they wrote that stuff with the inherent indications of keeping religion out of overall politics, it was because when you allow religion to dictate, a man's faith can be turned to make him commit some terrible atrocities. Nationalism is dangerous in itself, just by itself. Nationalism can be terribly dangerous. If you don't think so, that's what Nazi Germany was about. It was about nationalism. The Nationalist Socialist organization, the Nazi Party was basically, they took the German people and made their pride of nation a weapon to use against them. Are you sure? Humans, not... You can't tell one slice of the civilian populace that you're going to take away their rights just simply because they possess different genitalia, a different skin tone, or a different hair color. If you are a citizen of this nation, you are afforded the same rights and privileges as anyone else who is a citizen of this nation. That's the way it fucking works. Saying that there are different rules that apply to women that don't apply to men is horseshit. I know, I bitch a lot.